5 years earlier, they destroyed him publicly. Now he was back privately. The winter air in Manhattan wasn't gentle. It never had been. It sliced through ambition. It froze hesitation. And Ethan Cole no longer hesitated. The Black Phantom rolled to a stop outside 425 Park Avenue. Cameras flashed before the door even opened. "Mr. Cole, are you acquiring Harrington Holdings? Is it true you're moving your headquarters from California to New York?" Ethan stepped out slowly. Precision-tailored charcoal suit. Minimalist watch. Calm eyes. He looked nothing like the boy who once stood in snow outside a wedding venue. He looked like consequence. He didn't answer the reporters. He simply walked forward. 50 floors above the city, Olivia Harrington stood in silence. The news played on mute across 3 different financial channels. Ethan Cole returns to New York. Tech billionaire targets real estate giant. Her fingers tightened around the remote. Her reflection in the glass looked elegant, but her eyes betrayed her. 5 years of luxury had not erased one winter night. Her husband entered. Richard Harrington. Polished, political, controlled. "You're watching him again." She didn't deny it. "He's irrelevant," Richard said calmly. But his jaw was tight, because powerful men recognize threats instantly. And Ethan was not irrelevant. He was strategic. Ethan didn't attack loudly. He bought silence, minority shares, quiet investors, debt pressure. Harrington Holdings had overextended into luxury developments across Manhattan. And Ethan knew exactly where the weaknesses were. He didn't want chaos. He wanted control, because revenge isn't rage. It's patience. 2 weeks later, Olivia received a calendar notification. Board meeting. Mandatory attendance. She entered the conference room prepared. She was not prepared for him. Ethan stood at the far end of the table. Calm, unbothered, older, colder. Their eyes met for exactly 2 seconds. 5 years collapsed inside that silence. He looked away first. That hurt more than anger. No one spoke when Ethan sat down. 12 executives. 2 lawyers. 1 silent war. Richard Harrington folded his hands calmly. "Mr. Cole," he said smoothly, "I didn't realize you had interest in commercial real estate." Ethan's voice was level. "I don't." A pause. "I have interest in leverage." A few board members shifted in their seats. Olivia felt her pulse in her throat. Richard smiled thinly. "And what leverage do you believe you have?" Ethan slid a folder across the table. Debt exposure reports. Risk ratios. Pending refinancing deadlines. Every weakness laid bare. "You expanded too fast after 2021, Ethan said. "Luxury towers. High-interest bonds. You assumed the market would protect you." He looked up. "It doesn't." Silence. Richard's jaw tightened. Olivia understood something terrifying in that moment. Ethan wasn't emotional. He was surgical. She found him in the hallway. He was alone. Of course he was. "Ethan." He stopped walking. Didn't turn immediately. When he did, his expression was unreadable. "Yes, Mrs. Harrington?" The name felt like a blade. "You don't have to do this." "I'm not doing anything," he said calmly. "The market is. You're targeting us." "No, I'm investing." Her breath trembled. "This is revenge." For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. "If I wanted revenge," she said quietly, "you wouldn't be standing this comfortably." That wasn't a threat. It was truth. That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. The past had weight, and she was tired of carrying only half of it. She went into Richard's private study. He wasn't home. She searched a locked drawer. She didn't know what she expected to find. She found it anyway. A 5-year-old internal memo. Subject: Cole Scholarship Investigation. Attached: fabricated transaction logs. Approved by R. Harrington. Her hands went cold. She kept reading. Ensure Columbia withdraws funding. Discreet coordination with compliance office. Her father-in-law hadn't just influenced events. He had manufactured them. Ethan hadn't disappeared. He had been pushed, and she had believed it. When Richard came home, she was waiting. "You framed him." He paused only briefly. Then he removed his coat. "I protected you. You destroyed him. He was nothing. He was everything. The admission slipped out before she'd stop it. Richard's expression hardened. He would have kept you in a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. At least I would have slept at night. The room cracked open. You think he's clean? Richard snapped. He built his empire with sharks. He built it alone. Richard stepped closer. You think he came back for you? That question pierced deeper than accusation. Because she didn't know, the old apartment building still stood, smaller than she remembered, colder. Ethan stood across the street at night, hands in his coat pockets. He hadn't returned here in years, not because it hurt, but because it reminded him who he was before power. He didn't hate Olivia. That was the complicated part. Hate would have been easier. He hated the helplessness. He hated standing in snow while she married security. But love? Love had never fully left. It had just frozen. She found him there. Of course she did. Somewhere deep down, she always knew where he would go when the city became too loud. Why here? She asked softly. He didn't look surprised. It's honest here. She stepped closer. I saw the documents. Silence. He framed you. Yes. You knew. Yes. Her breath faltered. You knew and you never told me? He finally turned. I told you I didn't do it. You didn't fight. I was 23, Olivia. Your family owned the narrative. His voice didn't rise. That made it worse. You believed them, he said quietly. That was enough. Her tears came without permission. I was scared. So was I. That ended the argument, because fear had existed on both sides. Only one of them chose safety. I didn't come back to hurt you, Ethan said. Then why? He hesitated, and that hesitation said everything, because I needed to stand in front of him without feeling small. The truth hung between them. You did, she whispered. He looked at her. And now? He didn't answer immediately. Now, I don't know what to do with the part of me that still remembers you laughing on that rooftop. Her breath broke. Ethan, he stepped back. Don't romanticize it. Memory is kinder than reality. 2 weeks later, federal agents enter Harrington Holdings. Insider trading charges. Fraud investigations. Financial networks exploded. Richard was taken out in handcuffs. Cameras flashing. The same way Ethan once faced them. Olivia watched from the window. History had a cruel sense of symmetry. That night, she called Ethan. He didn't answer. She went to his office instead. No appointment. No pride left. When the assistant tried to stop her, Ethan's voice came from inside. Let her in. The door closed behind her. They stood alone. I'm filing for divorce, she said. He didn't react. I didn't ask you to. I'm not asking permission. Silence. I loved you, she said. Past tense again. I never stopped. That landed differently. He walked toward the window. You loved the idea of me surviving, he said. But you didn't love the risk of standing beside me when I was failing. She had no defense. Because it was true. He turned. If I lose everything tomorrow, he asked quietly, would you stay? She answered instantly. Yes. But this time, he didn't fully believe it. Not because she was lying, but because once broken, trust regrows slowly. And sometimes never symmetrically. The media didn't care about love. They cared about scandal. Billionaire heiress files for divorce amid fraud investigation. Olivia's face was everywhere. Comment sections were ruthless. Gold digger, social climber, opportunist. No one mentioned that she had walked away from the money before it collapsed. No one mentioned she signed no settlement demand. She moved out of the penthouse quietly. No press release. No statement. Just a small townhouse rental in Brooklyn. The same borough she once feared. Ethan sat under studio lights for his first televised interview in years. The host leaned forward. Mr. Cole, people say your acquisition of Harrington Holdings was personal. Ethan didn't blink. Everything in business is personal to someone. Was it revenge? A small pause. No, he said calmly. Revenge is emotional. This was strategic. And Olivia Harrington? The studio quieted. Ethan's jaw tightened almost invisibly. She made her choices. I made mine. Neutral, controlled. But When the interview ended and the cameras cut, he exhaled like a man who had been holding air for 5 years. Olivia sold most of her jewelry, donated a portion anonymously, kept only one thing, the silver bracelet Ethan had given her in college. She found a job on her own, not through family connections, not through old contacts. A nonprofit urban housing initiative in Brooklyn. Entry-level strategy consultant. Her co-workers didn't treat her like royalty. They treated her like an intern. It was humiliating. It was grounding. It was necessary. For the first time in years, she felt honest. Winter came again. New York never skips winter. Ethan stood on the rooftop of his Manhattan tower. Same skyline. Different man. He thought success would feel louder. It didn't. It felt quiet. He had beaten the system that crushed him. He had surpassed the man who humiliated him. He had proven himself. So why did victory feel incomplete? Because some battles aren't about power. They're about belonging. And he wasn't sure he belonged anywhere anymore. He saw her again by accident. Brooklyn, community housing event. She was speaking to residents. Passionate, focused, not polished, real. No designer heels. No security. No performance. Just Olivia. He stayed across the street watching. Not hidden. Not approaching. Just observing. This version of her. He didn't know this version. And that unsettled him. She noticed him eventually. Walked over slowly. No dramatic music. No snowstorm. Just wind. You look different, she said. So do you? I'm not here because I lost everything. I know. You don't know that. He studied her. You don't walk like someone who's waiting to be rescued. That hit her harder than any accusation before. I'm not asking you to rescue me. Good. Silence. Then, I needed to become someone I respected, she said quietly. And I'm still working on it. For the first time in years, he smiled slightly. Not cold, not guarded. Real. They walked along the street. No photographers. No boardrooms. I hated you, Ethan admitted. I know. But I hated myself more for still loving you. Her voice broke. I never stopped loving you. He looked at her. Love isn't what failed us. What did? Courage. She nodded. That was the most honest answer either of them had ever spoken. Weeks passed. No dramatic declarations. No rushing. Ethan didn't pursue. Olivia didn't beg. They met occasionally. Coffee. Walks. Conversations that weren't about the past. He watched her build something on her own. She watched him soften without losing strength. But trust isn't rebuilt with feelings. It's rebuilt with consistency. And consistency takes time. One evening, Ethan made her an offer. Not marriage. Not romance. A partnership. I'm launching a housing redevelopment fund, he said. Ethical pricing. Long-term stability. No exploitation. She looked surprised. You want me involved? I want someone who understands both sides of power. And you trust me? He held her gaze. I'm choosing to. That was bigger than love. That was risk. The night before contracts were signed, Olivia panicked. Not because she doubted him, because she doubted herself. What if she failed again? What if pressure changed her again? She stood outside his office. Memories of the past flooding in. This time, she didn't wait for security to let her in. She knocked. He opened the door. She didn't step inside immediately. I need to know something. He waited. If this collapses, if the media turns, if we lose money, if the world says we're stupid, she swallowed. Will you still stand next to me? He didn't answer right away. Then he stepped forward. Yes. No hesitation. No pride. Just certainty. That was the difference. 5 years ago, they loved each other. Now, they chose each other. And choosing is stronger than romance. Snow fell softly over Brooklyn. Not dramatic. Not tragic. Quiet. They stood on the old rooftop of Ethan's childhood building. No billion-dollar deal mattered there. No headlines. No power plays. Just two people who had broken once and rebuilt differently. You're not the same girl, he said. You're not the same boy. Good. She smiled faintly. Good. He took her hand. not as revenge, not as victory, not as desperation, as partnership. The city glowed behind them, and this time, neither of them felt small. Love doesn't survive because it's intense. It survives because two people grow brave enough not to run.